Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the KnifeCenter. And on the day this video posts, myself and Thomas behind the camera, and Seth V, my social media guy, we're actually going to be driving down to Atlanta for the Blade Show. But to hold you folks over until we start posting videos from that show, it is our favorite time of the week after all. Time to take a look at the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves. Let's check them out. All right, first things first. We're getting packed up to head to Blade Show. We've already filmed this new items video, but one more thing showed up right before we were getting on the road that I wanted to make sure I told you guys about. This is a big deal. KnifeCenter exclusive. New versions of the Demko AD20.5, and for the first time ever, we've got a truly premium steel on this knife, CPM 3V. Very, very cool. Fantastic performance steel. You've got great edge retention. You've got great toughness to boot. Not a stainless steel, of course, so keep that in mind, but how cool is that? This is what you folks have been waiting for, and we've been so excited because we've known it's been in the works for quite a while, and you can only get them right here. Very cool. We got both blade shapes and two different colors, red and black Grivery. You've got the standard clip point. It's a bit over 3 inches, like 3 1/8, 3 1/4, somewhere in that vicinity. And the sheep's foot style blade, which they call the shark lock, or sorry, the shark's foot, which comes in about 3 inches. But they call it the shark's foot because, of course, this knife has the shark lock, which is the little fin there up top, which is really great. It's really fantastic lock. It was introduced last year, and it's still kind of the talk of the town. It's got fidgety action. It's got finger safe operation when you close the blade. It's a lot of fun. It's very strong to boot. You can open it that way. You've also got thumb studs and the thumb cutout or the blade cutout to do more stuff with. These things are nice and slim, so they carry in the pocket very easily, but you've got the strength of that lock and a fairly robust blade. Aided now, of course, by the extra toughness that the 3V brings. And even to start with, we're dealing with like 1/8 inch thick blade steel or thereabouts. So for a thin folder, there is a ton of toughness involved right here. Price on these Grivery versions, about $190 right now. Also available right now, and KnifeCenter is proud to be able to help debut these titanium versions of the AD20.5 with that same great 3V steel. Truly premium all around now, not just on the steel, but the handles get that nice premium upgrade as well. Smooth titanium in this case. It feels really good, adds a little bit of heft to the knife itself, so it's not quite as lightweight as the Grivery, but it feels even more solid as a result. And of course, for those of you customizers out there, kind of a blank canvas to do a lot of fun stuff with. Fantastic steel, fantastic handle material, same great shark lock action. Pocket clip is right side tip up, but you've got a left-handed pocket clip in the package on all of these. Really, really cool. We've also got, and I only have one example so far here, several different materials on some factory fresh from the Demkos. These are not aftermarket handle scales and barrel spacer standoffs to replace the old backspacer on some of your previous versions if you wanted to upgrade. Not sure the entire roster of what materials we have right now or the price points, and if they're not up by the time this video goes live, they are going to be shortly. Just keep checking the link below, and basically just got to pick which one you like best. I will say, if you're interested in any of the aftermarket scales, I say aftermarket, but again, it's not aftermarket. These are official Demko scales. The titanium versions of this knife come with a different pivot than the Grivery version. So you can see there it's larger, a bit more oversized. So these quote-unquote aftermarket scales aren't going to work with the titanium versions. They are going to work with the Grivery, however. One last thing to note, you can see there the Grivery has the backspacer, but the titanium version already comes with barrel spacer standoff. So very cool there too. And with that, back to the regular episode. All right, we've got a lot of knives on the table this week, so we'll try to keep things moving at a fairly decent clip for you folks. First things first, KnifeCenter is proud to be able to debut these two Bushcrafters from LT Wright Knives with Magnacut steel. First LT Wrights to come out with Magnacut, and it feels really good to have them on a classic model like the Bushcrafter. Tim Stetzer design. It is that simple spear point shape with just a knife handle that I like to say is designed just enough to be effective in all kinds of neutral grips for outdoor uses. 4-inch blade, that Magnacut steel, really awesome. The way to describe how special Magnacut is, essentially you've got three pillars of characteristics that any given steel can exhibit. You have stainlessness, you have toughness, and you have edge retention. And whenever you prioritize two of those columns, the third tends to suffer a little bit. Broadly speaking, of course. Magnacut is the first steel that you can get all three in real high degrees of performance. Very, very cool. So you've got something that is virtually stain proof. Spyderco's using this as part of their Salt series now on some knives. Virtually stain proof, as tough as something like 3V or Crewwear, something in that kind of vicinity, and very high edge retention as well. Very cool. We've got two versions of this knife right now. We've got this burlap micarta handled version. Looks great, feels great. These are a little bit under $310 right now. And we also have this black and gray G10 version with orange liners. These handles wound up a little bit thicker than the burlap, and these come in about $340 right now. Made in the USA, of course. You've got a lifetime warranty on these, crafted by hand. And as with pretty much every LT Wright, it comes with a nice JRE Industries leather sheath. You've got a dangler on the top so you can let it hang a little lower off your belt, tuck it under to use the standard belt, and then you've got a fire steel loop on the side. Next up, we have another fixed blade, the Smith & Sons Shoal. I really like this knife. About $147 for this particular one. And you've got this kind of small bird and trout style design that I think would actually make a pretty good EDC as well. AEBL steel, 2 3/4 of an inch long, very thin on the blade stock with that full flat grind. This is going to be a phenomenal little slicer. Compact steak knife or food prep knife perhaps, but just a great slicer for whatever you want to press it into. There's a few different handle options. I really like this Richlite material, which if you're unfamiliar is similar, very similar in fact, to something like paper micarta. It's used, or it uses kind of paper fibers and layers of paper and resin to create this cool look. It's a very, very nice texture underhand. Bolt-on construction, kind of a 3.5 finger grip for me. Maybe just barely all 4 fingers on there if I choke up just a little bit. But this is not really a gorilla grip style knife. This thing is a little scalpel, all about precision, whether you're using it in a small game scenario or cutting stuff day to day. Sheath is equally suited to kind of both of those roles too. Feels really good. It's kind of a large sheath given the size of the knife in general, but it holds it nice and deep, and you've got a clip here on the back with an actual recessed point in the leather backer, so it's going to pinch really nicely if you're carrying that in a waistband. It'll also work well on a belt, maybe even as a quite large pocket carry, but maybe even as a pocket knife. All right, next up we've got, kind of keep the classic feeling knife vibe going, we've got a Finch. This is the model 1934. The price is about $145, and this one with the jigged bone they call the Crawdad variation. I really like this shape. You've got a big, broad clip point profile with that straight clip point, 3-inch blade, 154 cm, horizontal grain on the sanded finish, which looks great against the stainless steel hardware and bolsters on the handle itself. Plus, the bonus when you go to kind of wipe your knife blade off, the streaks from your wipe are going to go in the same direction as the grain of the steel itself. So it always kind of looks a little cleaner and looks a little more premium overall. Very, very cool looking knife. You've got that frame lock on the back underneath of that bolster, or sorry, underneath of that inlay. Folds up nicely. You've got a milled pocket clip here, ball bearings in the pivot, and great little flipping action. That's a great shape. I really do have to say, that's wonderful. They do give you a little nail nick if you want to open it two-handed. You don't need the nail nick to do it in this case, but it's kind of a nod to the classic slip joint inspiration that a lot of Finch's knives tend to take. The shield there glows in the dark as well. If you've seen some Finches before, kind of the features read about the same, but the shapes are a little bit different, and I gotta say, I think this is one of my favorite of their shapes to date. All right, next up we've got several new CIVIVI and WE knives. These are just a couple of them right here. This is one of the new Elementum fixed blades, $150 for this one. You got your 4-inch stainless steel Damascus blade, and I believe these are, yes, they are ebony wood handles in this case, flat scales. Just, it's that Elementum fixed blade that you folks probably know and love at this point. Kind of an in-between blade shape, little bit hunting, but a little bit more just kind of EDC, not quite tactical, not quite bushcraft either with its hollow grind, but something that's going to be able to be pretty versatile across a broad range of uses, generally speaking. Now, in addition to this kind of classier version right here, we have also got, for significantly less money, about 76 bucks, a new D2 version of this knife that comes with green micarta handle scales. So that one definitely feels a little bit more like the workhorse variety versus the, I don't know, the barbecue knife that you see right here, the more gentleman's oriented version right here. But it's got the same shape. The handle is nice and neutral, is gonna work for a lot of folks, and they both come with a Kydex sheath in this case. Clicks in quite nicely, and on the back, you've got CIVIVI's T-clip, which is kind of a spin-off of something like the Blade Tech Tech Lock, but because of the slot right here, rather than a hole, it should work with even more aftermarket stuff. But that's gonna allow you to carry this sheath in basically any of the basic cardinal directions, left, right, up, down, just by moving that clip around to suit your style. Next up, we've got this itty bitty O-stop Hell design from CIVIVI. This is the D-Art, or the Dart, fixed blade, D2 steel, 1 3/4 blade, 47 bucks for this, thereabouts. And just a little utility knife. This is nothing more, nothing less. There's no pretensions, I think, of it being any kind of tactical knife, any kind of do-everything knife, but it's just a small, stylish edge for when you need something to kind of puncture open a box or package, that sort of thing. The sheath on it, it is set up with a small Kydex sheath right here with a breakaway ball chain for neck carry. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's just kind of a really cool little piece. Symmetrical, so you do have to be careful. This is a single-edged design, but with the profile being what it is, it'd be very easy to kind of pick this up upside down. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you're oriented correctly before you cut. Very cool. Do we have a couple colors of this? Yes, we have a black stonewashed as well as this kind of bead blasted finish right here. And the cool thing is, it definitely feels like an O-Stop Hell design. It's cool to see him coming out with some stuff that is recognizable instantly, which is really hard to do these days, so applause right there. All right, next up we've got, I'm gonna show two of the new WE knives. The first is the Speedster, a titanium frame lock flipper. And in a way, both of these knives feel like kind of iterations or evolutions of some CIVIVI designs that are already out there. If you've seen the button lock Conspirator recently, you can definitely see some similarities on this knife right here. But this is the more premium option, of course. This is 230 bucks. Got a 3.5-inch 20 CV blade with that high flat grind. So you've got a ton of edge retention, and that drop point shape is of course very versatile. And you have titanium handles here, stonewashed in a gray finish, but there's a couple different standard kind of WE finishes. You've got a black, you've got a blue, and a couple other things too, I think. Pocket clip is also titanium, folded, not a milled pocket clip. It is deep carry and reversible also, which is quite nice. And this knife with kind of this style blade and this style handle, it's not trying to be too out there, and it still looks refined though in a very nice way. You've got a shape that's gonna work well for pretty much any day-to-day task, and a handle that's gonna work for most folks. It's got a 4-finger grip for my slightly larger than average hands, but nothing to prevent you from kind of hanging off the back and still being able to use this if you have even larger mitts. Frame lock, like I mentioned, ball bearings in the pivot like you probably expect from a Wii at this price point. And of course, you're going to get that excellent action along with it. Next up, we have the Wii Culex, which to me feels like a premium version, flipperized spin-off of the CIVIVI Altus. Very kind of similar vibes going on here. 216 for this knife. You've got a 3-inch blade, just under that 3-inch mark with 20 CV steel again, and a high flat grind, and a bit of a blade style that it is a drop point, but this type of drop point has definitely been seeing more prevalence these last few years. You've got more belly here at the back, and although the belly continues towards the tip, we also have that needle-like tip. So it's a little bit of the best of both worlds between a versatile drop point and a very acute piercing clip point in a way. Very nicely done. Titanium handles. This is a bronze stonewashed, or actually we're calling it green titanium on the website. I guess there is a hint of green in there, but it feels more kind of brassy to me. Button lock. You've got a flipper and a set of thumb studs for the action on this. Folds or falls shut quite easily when you disengage the lock, as you can see. Great action, no matter which of the two opening methods you're using. 3.5 finger grip, but again, very neutral style shape, so you can hang off the back, no problem. Fantastic option if you're looking for a 3-inch premium knife, something that you'll be able to take anywhere. This one right here with this color especially, I think is gonna look good whether you're wearing jeans or like a nice fancy suit. Just be circumspect when you whip this out at like a nice dinner party or something, but you know, if you're at a nice dinner party, they probably know what kind of person you are at that point. Really cool knife. You can reverse the pocket clip over to the other side, which is nice because a button lock like this is very usable for a lefty. So even though it's not a completely symmetrical experience side to side, very nice ambidextrous option. Next up, we've got a premium knife, the Alliance Designs Deimos by Walter Randolph. Price on this, $345. What you're getting for that? Very cool blade shape. Let's classify this. We've got a recurve, it's a drop point. You've got a harpoon kind of style to the spine. So it's a recurved harpoon drop point, shall we say. M390 steel, 3¼ inch long, horizontal grain on the flats, and it looks kind of very satin or almost bead blasted on the ground portions of the knife, which are flat ground, by the way. Very nice look and very usable shape despite it being a little bit fancier. It doesn't get too far out of whack that it starts to become impractical to use. Very useful day-to-day. Titanium handles, copper pivot collar it looks like. Yeah, actual copper there on the ring, front and back, and the single standoff that you see at the back right there. Very nice. Milled titanium clip, titanium frame lock with your over travel stop there on the inside that also acts as the hardened steel lock face. Flipping action, haven't done it yet. Are we really surprised that it's excellent? I know I'm certainly not. All right, next up, Real Steel. We have a new Poltergeist Design Works slip joint from Real Steel. This is the Solis. It comes in $100 right now. For that, your handle is made from titanium and the blade is N690, about 2.9 inches long. And actually, spoiling a little bit ahead, you can definitely see the heritage on this new knife with something like the Luna, which is also from the same designer and well established at this point in the lineup. It's kind of funny, Luna, Solis, Lunar, Solar. I wonder if they did that on purpose.
You really cracked that code, didn't you?
Let me have this, it's fine. Anyway, really cool knife though. 2.9 inch blade, like I said, titanium is faceted really nicely, stylishly, feels good in the hand. Now there's no jimping here at the front, which is something the Luna slip joints have always had, which has always been a nice kind of tactile clue that you're at the end of the handle. Still holds pretty naturally though, I have to say. Deep carry pocket clip, right side, tip up only. And this is a slip joint, so it's not going to lock shut or open, for that matter, like more knives tend to do. You've got a stop along the travel, partially along the way. It's a nice safety measure, and you could hear the action sounded great. You've got dual fullers, which act as your opening method there. Real easy to pinch. I really like this kind of sheep's foot blade style here. That's one that kind of walks the line a little bit between the sheep's foot and the Wharncliffe side of things, but I'm going to say sheep's foot in this case. And you've even got a pretty much completely straight edge, so I don't even have to throw modified sheep's foot at this one too much. But the tip is still going to be very usable, and it's going to work great drawing through cuts, surface work with that tip itself, thanks to this shape. Full flat grind is still going to slice really nicely. Very cool. All right, now to the Luna, which previously has been a slip joint. We now have the Luna Boost, which is a titanium frame locking version of the knife. $140 for this one, and that comes with carbon fiber for the front side of the knife itself. And I wouldn't even say it's a scale. It's actually a solid piece of carbon fiber right there, providing kind of structural elements in this case. Really nice. 2 3/4 inch blade, N690 again, as opposed to a modified or any kind of sheep's foot. We've got this nice subtle drop point shape. I've always liked the lines of this knife. Very usable, full flat grind. Again, you have got dual fullers for the opening here, but this knife also comes in the box with a small thumb stud, which you can actually place along this fuller. You can kind of move it around just a little bit, get it right where you like it, and then this knife will work as a one-hand opener as well, which is also pretty neat. But it feels really classy. I like the blue accents on the pivot itself and the screws, or the back spacers, barrel spacers there. Nice premium option, milled titanium clip in this case. Overall, very, very classy everyday carry. All right, next up we have got an Ivan Braganets design from LionSteel. This is the Bruns, comes in at $180. 3.5 inch blade, VG10. One of those kind of weird hybrid blade shapes. It's almost a drop point where they just clipped the end off just a little bit in any case. But you've got a high flat grind on there. Should be pretty useful for most daily tasks. Handle is titanium. This one is black with some excellent looking gold accents. Milled pocket clip. All the titanium front and back is skeletonized or milled out essentially for some extra weight relief. In addition to that skeletonization there, you've also got some milling of pockets on the inside, so it really does bring it down. Overall, 2.7 ounces for a knife like this. That's pretty impressive. Frame lock, you can see right there from the screw on the outside, we've got that steel lock bar interface / over travel stop on the inside. And this is a front flipper. Let's see. Can David front flip it? Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Feels really good, put together great. I like the kind of flat head utility of the pivot here at the front. You don't need any Torx specialities to adjust that or any of the other screws on this particular knife. From the same designer and LionSteel, we have a fixed blade. This is the Furrier. $85 for these. 2 blade shapes. You've got the harpoon point here, and you've got another one which is also kind of a harpoon point, but it has significantly more belly. So definitely more, that one would be more of a almost skinning style of blade, whereas this one might be a little bit more daily friendly. 85 bucks if I didn't mention that before. I like the red micarta version especially. And it's kind of one of those knives that's endeavoring to be a little bit EDC, a little bit tactical, thanks to the finger ring that you get there. A little bit kind of do it all, so to speak. Fingering is a little bit on the smaller side. I actually can't fit my finger all the way down it. Probably could, but then it might be hard to get off, but I have pretty large fingers in this case. So keep that in mind before you make your choice, but it feels really good. I don't even have to put my finger in that ring when I'm just holding the knife and using it. It's still gonna work. My pinky definitely fits in there, no problem, however. The blade steel here is N690, so you've got that stainless quality and pretty decent performance. The sheath, it's set up for horizontal carry, as you can see. So it'd be real easy to carry small your back or cross draw, anything like that, or even on the side if you're gonna kind of pull it open or pull it out of the sheath with your finger, index finger in the ring in a reverse grip. So overall, pretty cool package. All right, one more real steel and another Poltergeist Design Works. In this case, this is the Shade Karambit. Comes in about $49.50. And this is, as far as karambits go, a bit of a slow one. This is not a kind of quick access knife overall, because you have to very deliberately kind of open it with the thumb hole, and you have to kind of watch your fingers on the lock bar itself to make sure you don't put pressure on it in this case. There's no real kind of fast access option here. There's no flipper tab. There's no wave style deployment, so bear that in mind. I will say, however, the lines of this knife I find really attractive and should be really useful if you need a hawkbill shape, quite honestly. 2.3 inches, almost 2.4 with D2 steel. Really cool blade shape. Not so aggressive of a hawkbill that it's going to be too difficult to sharpen, but great little shape for utility. You've got a flat grind there. Nice acute tip, real good for getting under things. Kind of popping zip ties I always think is really good. Cutting through cardboard. The recurve is going to help gather the material a little bit as you push through. Now, the frame locking side of this knife is stainless steel, but it has a titanium bonded coating in black. Looks really cool. And again, looks great against the gold accents that just need a flathead screwdriver. On the back here, I shouldn't say just a flathead. On the back, you can see there's a spot for a hex wrench. And then wire pocket clip in gold that looks fantastic too and is reversible. Overall, I think a fine option for utility, but if you're looking for a self-defense karambit, this one's probably a little bit too slow for that type of use. But speaking of tactical use, check out this knife. This is the LOTAR AKRAV Gen .5X Ghost 100 series flipper. There you go. $425 for these. These are made in Israel. LOTAR, of course, works very closely with the Israeli Special Forces on their designs, and this one is all about martial arts tactical uses for them specifically. 3.5 inch blade CPM D2, so it's not your standard D2. You've got more toughness thanks to the particle process used in this version here. Blades are saber ground with a flat geometry, and then the handles are titanium milled on the front, a little flatter on the back with that frame lock, which works quite nicely. Overall, there's the knife closed. You've got the flipper tab or the thumb slot. So you haven't tried the middle finger flick, but it works quite easily with that kind of real estate that's to be expected. And I don't know if this is just my hand in particular, but this feels a lot better in a reverse grip to me than it does in a forward grip. Might be due to its intended usages. We've got plain edge, we've got partially serrated, I believe. Plain and partially serrated. There's also a Tonto version of this knife, which admittedly is very similar to the way this drop point version is set up. Can we even call that a drop point? It's technically got some straight lines right here. In a way, it's almost like they took a drop point and then just flattened some sections of it. I know it doesn't feel right to call this a straight clip point in a way, so I'm gonna still call it a drop point, even though
I'm gonna call it a low polygon drop point.
Let's see, it lost some frame rate there,
yeah,
or some render speed at the end. But yeah, if you're looking for something tactical, if it does fit you in the forward grip, the blade kicks down a little bit. Should be easier to orient the point towards what you want it to point to. But overall, feels very nicely put together. All right, next up, we have a ProTech. This is, of course, the Bob Terzola design ATCF here in automatic form, and Magnacut steel on this particular one. So you've got your toughness, you've got your stain resistance, and you've got your great edge retention, all in that one great steel. We're at $525 for this version of the knife. You've got that 3.5 inch blade, drop point shape, flat ground with the swedge. Overall, very utilitarian and effective shape for kind of a tactical design. G10 inlays, actually I think they're G10. Yes, they are black G10 inlays on each side of the aluminum. Milled pocket clip, and you've got a nice flat spot underneath the pinch point of that pocket clip on that G10 rather than continuing the texture. Should make it a little kinder to your pockets in and out. Really like that clip actually. It's nice long design. I like that they carried the stone washed finish over from the blade. Means as that clip gets banged around, it should wear quite nicely. Same thing as you use that blade, scratches aren't going to stand out quite as much. Now this version right here gets a touch of class with the firing button there. You've got mother of pearl. And speaking of firing, I say this every time that I pull out a ProTech, that their action is pretty much the best. It feels phenomenal. I can always tell by the sound of it that it is a ProTech. So I'll say it again here, and I just did. So good. But speaking of that, being able to tell a ProTech, comes in handy with this next knife, which is an Arcform. This is a Jeff Blofeld design. This is the Slimfoot Auto for 165, and it's got that same ProTech sound. And of course, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, even though it doesn't say it anywhere, because it sounds the way it does, because the pocket clip is very clearly a ProTech clip. This is made by ProTech for Arcform. 165, like I mentioned, you've got aluminum handles, really nice kind of neutral gray color on this one, and a stonewashed 154 cm blade in this case. You've got this kind of modified cleaver sheep's foot shape, just over 3 inches long. We've also got some manual versions of this knife, which are a little bit larger and frame locking. Maybe I'll talk about those next week, but I don't have one on the table in front of me right now. But overall, it's an Arcform, but hey, it's a ProTech, so it is put together great. The action is fantastic, and overall, it's going to be a very satisfying knife to carry. All right, we're going to end this knife with a few more fixed blades. The first is the SOG Recondo FX. New fixed blade designs from them, coming in about $130. Two different colors. You've got black or this flat dark earth on the GRN handles themselves. And then you've got a 4.6 inch blade in 440C steel, hollow ground here with that kind of saber height going on. And you've got the choice of plain edge or partially serrated on both of these knives. And a little bit like the Seal FX and the Seal Seal XR flipper that they put out the last couple of years. I like the blade shape here because it's a little more toned down here even than on those knives, but it still has a bit of that character of like the classic SOG buoys that, you know, this company is so famous for, but in a still maybe more streamlined and more more useful design overall. You be the judge, but I do like the shape overall. We've got a black tie-nye coating on the blades here. 4.6 inches, like I mentioned. Feels good in the hand. Maybe not a long-term carving style knife if you're thinking about using this knife as an outdoor blade. Definitely skews more towards the tactical. You can see the tang here at the back, so you do have a full length tang along here. And it's not protruding, but you do have a flat spot here on the back that you theoretically could use for some crushing tasks, but you are dealing with hard plastic in this case rather than something like metal. So before you go too ape on something really hard, keep that in mind. You might damage the knife in some of those cases. But that is hard plastic, but this section up here with the little 3-line design here, pattern, has a bit of grip to it. That's slightly more rubbery. Yeah, overall, I like the contact points where you interface with this knife. And the sheath is done pretty nicely too. Clicks in quite nicely. You've got set up on the back 2 kind of spring-loaded forms right there. You can use this on a belt. You could use this on some certain Molly gear too, I think. And it also comes with some extra bit of strapping that can be attached to the back of this and give you some extra retention on the knife handle itself. And if you're using this right-handed, what I like about this is the strap is going to be pointing back. So if you're walking through obstacles or something else, it's less likely for that snap to get caught and pulled back since you're pulling it forward. So if you're right-handed, that extra consideration is nice. If you're left-handed, you won't have the same benefit, but the other nice consideration is this knife works in that sheath no matter which direction you insert it. So you don't even have to swap hardware around to make this left-hand carry. The sheath is going to work well either way. Next up, we have a LionSteel. This is the T6 CVN. Comes in about $287 right now, and this thing is a monster. So the blades on these bad boys are about 6 inches long, and you've got K490 steel, which is a new one to me, and According to the maker, which is Böhler Uddeholm, I'm always pronouncing that second part wrong, I'm sure. But if you're familiar with something like M4, it's a very tough steel overall and has some pretty good edge retention, but is not stainless. Same thing here. But you're gonna get about the same kind of edge retention as you will with M4, but the toughness is gonna be just about double that steel, which is really impressive. M4 would be a great choice due to its toughness on a blade like this. So to have the same performance on the edge, but having even more toughness, very, very cool indeed. High flat grind. Again, kind of one of those, there's a bit of an arc there. We'll definitely call this one a drop point. And crowned spine along the back, which carries through to the tang of the knife, which is a modified full tang. We'll get to that in a minute. But that's gonna be very comfortable to use and very nice if you're using this outdoors and you want a baton with the knife, which with the toughness here, I'd have no qualms about doing that. Now the cool thing about the micarta handles here is they wrap around the front. This is a single piece handle, which you used to see this kind of construction a lot with wood, really, more for the sake of ease of construction back in the day. But here it kind of leans into LionSteel's heritage of making integral titanium folding knives, while also giving you a stronger handle design overall for the handle pieces itself. One monolithic piece of micarta. So in a way, this is a, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 6-part knife. 4 of those are the bolts that hold the knife to it. In addition to having a cool construction, the shape is very well done. It feels fantastic in the hand. I love the amount of finger guard you have here. I love the protruding tang at the back for thumping on things. If you're looking for one of those kind of one-tool option survival knife designs, this is definitely catapulted to the top of my list of recommendations right now. Really, really love this knife. As far as the sheath goes, feels super rugged. The Kydex is nice and thick. You've got an extra retention strap there just in case. You've got the ability to use this on your belt or thread these straps through some molly webbing for tactical uses or just attachment to your outdoor gear that has molly webbing. And you've got a nice thick bit of cordage here at the bottom that can be used as a thigh strap or use it for any number of other things. And last but not least, we have the Heretic Sleight, or sleight of hand, like that. The modular push dagger, this comes in $195. You've got about a 3-inch double-edged chisel ground 20 CV blade, which can be unscrewed and removed from the holder right there. Very vicious feeling little thing right here. I really like the green color here, but there's some other colors available. And I really love the feeling of comfort in the hand. It nestles in quite nicely. The edges themselves are all rounded over so they don't dig in, but the portion, at least for me, where my fingertips rest has some texture there. So you've got a real solid feeling of grip in those places. Makes it feel super, super locked in. Now, obviously, with a profile like this, with the bit of the holder sticking up, not an extremely utilitarian shape. This is definitely kind of a last-ditch tool overall. But the cool thing is, I don't know if we have any yet on the site, but there are going to be other inserts that this holder will accept. Maybe some different steels, maybe some slightly different shapes over time. So that's pretty cool too. As far as the sheath, here it is. It is injection molded rather than Kydex because you have to make extra room for that holder at the top, and it comes with a Blade Tech lock here at the back. Very easy, again, to use it carried vertically, horizontally, pretty much however you choose, and then grab it and you're ready to go in a flash. All right, that's all I have for you this week. Make sure to stay tuned on this channel though throughout the weekend as we're gonna be posting our Blade Show interviews with even more new knife debuts to talk about. If you wanna get your hands on any of these knives, check out the links in the description to take you over to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about our Knife Rewards program, because when you buy one of these knives today, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. See you next time.